Hello and welcome to a new video. Hopefully I don't fuck up royally recording this one. It's time to play some more Talos Principle 2. And I have a special guest in the room, my cat. She is laying down behind me. So last episode we did World 3 and we completed the megastructure and discovered that the founder Athena was in there. One thing I find kind of interesting, you know, she's called Athena, right? And we already have Prometheus and Pandora. In the myth of Prometheus, Athena was the one who kind of breathed life into man, allowing man to be a living organism. And she also worked with Zeus in creating Pandora, and which ultimately led to all the sorrows and hardship of mankind, as well as hope, being released. Now, given that this game is pretty heavy-handed with its names and whatnot, I do wonder if she's antagonistic to Prometheus in this. So we have like two areas we can go to. We can go to this one, or this one. Let's see, do I want a remote rocky island off the northwestern coast, suggesting that it may be prone to landslides, or would I rather go to a large valley in the northern region, inundated centuries ago by rising sea levels caused by anthropogenic climate change? Let's go with this one first.
You should be headed towards an island off the northern coast. The terrain's pretty rough, so be careful.
More audio glitches. I don't know if I should apologize for that or not, because that's kind of on the developer team. And that is kind of annoying, because there may be something, you know, prudent about what they're saying. Common way of starting an area. The architecture here just a little bit reminds me of Giger, just a little bit. So I guess one of the questions is, like, what do the robots think is supposed to happen? Wow, this is a really... How the fuck did you get here? No, stop. How the fuck did you get here? There's only one railway system, and I'm using it. Anyways, this is a really closed off area, although there's that spot down there. Let's get introduced to the gimmick. Mind-body dualism.
What the?
Alright, so I can't take control through these. So that's what his body looks like. my body is exactly the same, but remember, Athena's was a little different. Did something similar to this in the first Talos Principle, but with like pre-recordings. And this was also a gimmick at the very, very, very end of Scorn, so if it happens twice in this game would have used it far, far more for an actual puzzle. What is this? Oh. What if I have you hold it here? Alright, there I go. Oh. Took longer than I.
Any further insights on the particle clouds, Melville?
To be honest with you, Byron, I feel like a caveman trying to study Bose-Einstein condensate. I'm seeing unknown particles whose every property violates the laws of physics, apparently capable of being controlled and recombined into just about anything. It's ridiculous.
Maybe someone in New Jerusalem can figure it out.
Sure, just give them another 1,000 years.
Good
Get
job,
why
1K.
that second puzzle, you know, gave me such difficulty, and then this one was so easy.
1K, I've been watching you solve these puzzles, and this body replication tech is incredible. It just casually blows up the very foundations of our society.
You're right, this is revolutionary, but what do you mean?
Do you have any idea how hard it is to make more of us? We're not like a toaster. You don't just weld together a couple of wires and a motherboard and call it a day. Not to mention how hard it is to even find some of the materials. And this thing just, poof, new human.
But the goal was to stop at 1,000, wasn't it?
It was. Or was it? And even if it was, sorry to be heretical, but does it matter? If we can figure out how this works, we can finally, easily create more people. We can grow. We can expand. We can build a real civilization. Isn't that worth pursuing?
We can actually have 1,000 people and not, like, missing 31 from an accident and then, you know, one and however many just fucked off. Maybe there's some point where there's enough people, but this is not it.
Look, yes, Large amounts of people can cause problems. But even the problems they cause are interesting. Because without people, the world is boring. I'm not even saying there isn't some planetary limit. But I've done the maths. It's in the high billions, not a measly 1,000. Anyway, we all need to think about what this means. Glad you and I are more or less on the same page.
Alright, back to work. I'll talk to him, and I guess I will, since
This body
is...
replication technology is proof of just how vital this expedition is. We may not know how it works and what its limitations are, but the technology itself isn't even what really matters. What matters is to expand our imagination, to realize that other futures are possible. I'm glad you see it that way too, 1K. After all, the world is better with you in it, isn't it? Hey, 1K.
What if Athena left the island? What if Athena left the island long ago?
Then at least we may be able to find out what happened in New Jerusalem, why she came here. But I don't think she left the island. I think she's still here, waiting for us to make the right choices.
What makes you think that?
It's hard to articulate. There just seems to be so much intent here. There has to be a reason for all this. And Athena is the only reason that makes sense.
Why do you believe there should be more people?
I think every single human being is completely unique, and every instance of consciousness is a miracle. The more of us there are, the more alive the universe is. And the more we all interact with each other, the more complex the life of the universe becomes. So I believe that people are a fundamental good. I don't believe we're all flawless, but I think every one of us matters precisely because nothing else does.
Tell me a joke.
Okay? How many robots does it take to change a light bulb?
I don't know. How many?
Replacing a light bulb is a waste of resources, and the founder would be outraged.
That's not bad.
Herman didn't seem to think so.
Do you think the megastructure technology could be misused?
Could be. Yes, of course. All technology has the potential to be misused. From fire and the wheel to whatever makes these particle clouds. But that doesn't mean it has to be.
Does your faith in humanity ever waver?
In the principle of it, no. It's not just that I believe humanity is fundamentally good, although I do. It's that I think sentience is the foundation of everything else. What's the point of stars and galaxies, of hills and forests, without someone to perceive them? But my faith that we can actually grow up, that we can break out of these loops and take control of our destiny, that's something I struggle with every single day.
And sometimes you think we're all gonna make it, and sometimes you come across someone who genuinely seems like they can't even wipe their own ass. And you wonder, oh, we're fucked, because there's probably way more of them out there. How did Major Airman Bias get elected?
Herman? Honestly, I think he makes people feel safe. The world beyond our walls is frightening. Human history is full of failures and disasters. It's easy to look at that and recoil. Herman offers a vision of the future that feels contained, manageable.
I mean, I think there is some value in having, like, a point where you feel like, alright, everything is set up, everything is self-sufficient, if we all just do nothing at all, we'll be fine. But at some point after that, you kind of have to start stretching out and start exploring more. I mean, ideally, we live in a post-scarcity society where no one really has to do anything. We have Star Trek replicators and machines that do all our labor. But even in that society, there would still be people who'd want to go out and explore. The introduction of AI art hasn't killed the drive for people to make art. It upset them because we don't live in a Star Trek society with replicators. Those artists need to eat, those artists need to pay mortgage or rent, and AI art encroaches on their revenue stream. But I don't think if that was a problem, there would have been this huge stink about it. So I think it's a fantasy though, because there's nothing to really suggest that human society ever reached that kind of gold standard.
Exactly. If a golden age exists, it's in our future. But to achieve that will take a great deal of work. We will have to build the systems that make a better world possible.
I mean, it's probably easier for robots and people. The stuff that they need to keep going is the stuff they need to also power everything else. Meanwhile, this shit that powers this computer or this microphone is not the same thing that powers me. I can't shove a hamburger into my PC to make it work properly. If technology isn't the problem, why did our ancestors destroy themselves?
Because they refused to grow up. They refused to take control of their lives. They let bureaucrats and financiers determine their destiny, and those people could not think beyond themselves, beyond the tiny, insignificant moment they were trapped in. Their technology could have saved them, but what really failed them was their imagination.
To be honest, I think given the fact that economics is a huge factor in this, the problem is that the incentives weren't there. Modern capitalism is a rat race to ensure that line goes up at any, by any means. Even if it results in the product being overall shittier, as long as line goes up, as long as number goes up, who cares? And that ended up fucking over the world and releasing that deadly virus. Gee, I wonder which universe I'm talking about here. What are the implications of Melville's analysis of the particle clouds?
Athena was always trying to understand the reality underneath what we perceive, the objective truth. That's why she was capable of leaving the simulation. And even after she was free, she never stopped trying to understand more. I suspect her research took her another step closer to understanding the truth. And such steps always challenge our conception of the universe. But that's the wonderful thing about science. We can adapt our views to the evidence.
That's probably one of the single greatest assets to science, being able to creationists are interesting people, and it's always amusing when they try to go after figures in the history of evolutionary thought, personal shit, and naturally they end up going after Charles Darwin. It may be impossible to be a biologist and not something of a Darwin fanboy or fangirl, but the strength of science is that no matter how cool you think the guy was and are great, happy that he kickstarted modern biology, if he was wrong and there's evidence to show that, then he was wrong. You don't have to cope. You don't have to say that it was an allegory. You don't have to pretend that, oh, there's actually this super secret way that he was actually 100% correct. Being able to admire people from the past and still acknowledge that they might have gotten objective things wrong is, well, it's one of the most powerful aspects of modern human thought. Do you believe in the existence of something sublime or transcendent?
In the sense of an interventionist deity? No. I wouldn't rule out the possibility, but it's not something I personally believe. But I do think there is something genuinely sublime in this universe, and it's right in front of us. Consciousness. The fact that this sense of self is even possible, that an arrangement of matter can produce a self-aware mind? Think about it. It's a fundamental property of the universe, an unbreakable law that matter has the inherent capacity to become more than the sum of its parts. That is the definition of transcendence.
Are you sure it's not the really low poly snow on the concrete behind you? I noticed that Miranda called Athena her mother.
She did, yes.
Is that unusual? Or usual?
Some people in New Jerusalem choose to live in family units, although usually that involves marriage or equivalent ceremonies, not having children. You could say that Athena was a kind of mother to us, and Cornelius a kind of father, but it's not quite the same.
I guess one of the tragic aspects of these robots is they will never quite have a childhood. And conversely, in adulthood, they'll never have like a childhood where everything's wondrous and mysterious, and then in adulthood where maybe they have a more sober mind about things and a general understanding. You again? Oh, Jesus, two of you. Oh. That's stupid. Platform up there. Thing is, like, this wasn't the next gimmick according to that lab. The next gimmick was some kind of magnetism thing, which we did see a little bit in the megastructure.
As we continue exploring the cold northern reaches of the island, the contrast between the harshness of this place and the softness of New Jerusalem becomes more and more pronounced. There is a kind of madness in what we are doing, going to a place that is so hostile to our existence. That does not mean there is nothing to love here. There is, in fact, a great beauty, but it is a hateful beauty. A beauty you can only love because there are places that are not like this. And yet, it is precisely this hateful beauty that the people of New Jerusalem fail to see, and so cannot understand their own blessings.
Alright. Can you go down?
It's an old saying about how, in the end, the sea will claim everything. I have no doubt that this is true. In the long history of the human species, entire regions have disappeared under the waves. Places like Beringia and Doggerland still echo in our cultural memories. But we shouldn't forget that life began in the sea. We are the children of the sea. And it's not through floods and ruin that the sea will claim everything, but through us.
Is that just a quick way back up? Find my sprite and follow it until it leads you back to me. That is one powerful fan. The Sphinx. A C T There's no, like, higher... Oh. What if I want them both, you know, attached? So, I want this and this, but I also want this and this. Go here. Just right here. weird. There's some
An
puzzles
excellent solution.
that I can quickly figure out, and then there's some puzzles that just completely fucking filter me. Alright, so there's that, and it's facing that way. And to its left, there's A, T, and C. So, like, pattern already solved. Not seeing any. Might as well solve it since we're here. That's where we want to go. We need either 2 robots or 1 robot and... You can leave though. While I put you closer. Now we have 2 of these. Get you out here, and you out here. Alright, what do we do next, Captain? go. Here. Are you? And you? Maybe like here and work. I'm gonna move you all the way back here. Solved.
I can't imagine spending years in such a desolate place. For what? Science? Enlightenment? I'd much rather be back home in New Jerusalem.
I think it's beautiful in its own way. But I don't understand how our ancestors could survive here. They were so fragile. Imagine getting stuck out here in the cold. I wonder if there are wolves.
It's kind of a miracle biological humans lasted as long as they did.
I'm not seeing a building where I can put an A on something. Yes, but then it just kind of stays there. I can't even, like, you know, handle you. Actually, no. Just put you there. A little bit of hardcore parkour. So this one, is this it? Yep, an A. There should be a C somewhere on the other side of that. Oh, well, that, gets me up here, which wasn't the issue at hand. Remove those. That's the ending. That would leave place is him. Oh, alright, now I'm making progress. Kind of doing this in the dumbest way possible, but it is a way. Where is he? You, what are you doing over here? Go here. Grab the box. Lumpy. Box here. You will get on the box. Said before, we're doing this in the dumbest way possible. Stupid, get over here. So, as I've said before, we solved it in the dumbest way possible, but we solved it. I think just about every, you know, step you can take, I took. Alright, so way out far from it, that way, should be one that can be a C. What are you doing, bub?
If we believe that life is inherently valuable, if we think that other species are worth preserving, and we recognize that most of the universe is barren, then it follows that we have a duty not only to defend life, but to spread it. If life is the most valuable thing in the universe, then perhaps, in a sense, the cosmos itself is depending on us to do this. Like birds carrying seeds to uninhabited islands. Maybe that's our role in the galactic ecology.
Just making sure this isn't the one. Disastrous. Two-body problem. I'll just put this here. Back here. Alright, that probably just exists for that. Now where's the blue one? Oh, there it is. One still needs to be there. Then I can do one there and out here. Let's put you there. There's... There you go. Wanna talk? No? Yes? No?
Yes?
I guess yes. Did you ever meet the founder?
Of course I did. She and Cornelius were both there when I was born. Neath was just starting to take over back then, and they were still showing her the ropes.
What was the founder like?
Busy. There was always another problem to solve. Did you know that she never upgraded her body? Always prioritized everyone else. That's the kind of work ethic I wish more people had.
I actually noticed that for the, the holograms. I agree, but there also needs to be space for other things in life.
I suppose so. For me, living is doing. But I understand that other people have more varied needs.
Do you ever crave companionship?
I've never felt the need for a partner as such. I've met a lot of people who do. Athena and Cornelius, Atal and Damien, Sarabai and Hypatia. But that's not really for me. So far, at least. But I do have social needs like anyone. What I like is a pleasant buzz of humanity. Not too close, not too far. Something I can be part of without having it get in my face all the time.
Could these visions affect my mind?
The data stream overloads? Yes, they could. There are safeguards to prevent that from happening, but these aren't exactly carefully controlled circumstances. It's hard to predict. Our brains are absurdly complicated, which is why it's so hard to make more of us.
Why do you think the founder left New Jerusalem?
Maybe she just got sick of things breaking all the time.
I mean, things seem to be pretty sturdy out here, in harsh weather conditions. So but you know, if she found this area and the technology within it, why not go back to New Jerusalem and show them? What exactly can these particle clouds do?
As far as I can tell, anything, which is insane.
How do you feel about Mayor Herman's policies?
I used to think it was the only safe way forward. Keep things simple and under control. Now I'm not so sure that ever made sense.
What do you think about Miranda?
She's so innocent and full of wonder, it should make me want to retch, metaphorically speaking. But I'll admit, she's sort of charming.
Oh, back to work. On Cornelius. From the personal reminiscence of Mitku, there are some people whose true importance you just don't notice at first. People who quietly hold things together without making a big deal of it. That's what Cornelius was. Always by Athena's side, he calmly and carefully helped us all stay on track, reminding us of our shared humanity and the values that had brought us this far. I cannot imagine how painful it must have been when Athena left him behind. When he went on his so-called research expedition, most people thought he went looking for her. To be honest, I thought he might never come back, and I was surprised when he finally did. I still don't understand how she could leave him. They seemed to love each other so deeply. After he returned, Cornelius was different. He founded the Museum of Simulation and very rarely left its premises. The archive scholars doted on him, but he walled himself off, becoming almost as much a recluse as Eustathius. And only then did I slowly understand how much the city had lost. Blake. God appears and God is light to those poor souls who dwell in night, but does a human form display to those who dwell in realms of day? I don't know, 5358. Prime Mover. Excerpted from Considerations by Eustathius. 2. While it is hard, from our vantage point, to fully believe of any of the ancient religions, I must admit that I come to believe in the existence of a prime mover, not a designer as such, certainly not an interventionist god, but some force that sets the universe itself into motion. I do not know if it's possible for us to ever truly understand this being, since it must by definition exist outside of our understanding of reality, but I do believe that exists. Does it look upon us with love? Are we entertainment? Perhaps. Does it preserve some memory of us when we die? All of this I cannot answer, but I do not disbelieve those who honestly speak of having experienced some manner of brief communion with this entity. It's simply too common an experience in human history to easily discount. As the motion of the universe proceeds from the Big Bang, so whatever force animates us, whatever constitutes the true founding of consciousness, proceeds from the prime mover. My problem with this is you're dealing with something that exists outside of our local space-time and outside of the universe in general. And one of the main arguments for deity is the impossibility of there being an infinite chain of events. But if you're going to allow for some special exception for a god that always existed, that can violate the impossibility of an infinite chain of events, in that case being like the infinite amount of time that's just kind of sitting back, not making a universe before it did. I don't see how you can say anything definitive about what wacky things might be possible outside of the universe. The fact that it's something that crops up so much in human history is is better explained by the fact that we recognize cause and effect, and we're just applying that to the universe at hand. And at some point, we run out of ideas of what could have caused that, so arbitrarily we decided that a being, because cause and effect, we tend to anthropomorphize things, and we can cause effects, so we attribute a mind to whatever might have first caused things. We just arbitrarily plant a flag down and say, that's the first thing, we no longer have to consider this any further. What do you think about this, Mother? I don't believe in any kind of prime mover, but I thought you should read it because Euthesius is an intelligent person, and he came to this conclusion after a great deal of thought. It's important to respectfully consider points of view we don't agree with. Modernity. From the book of annotated internet comments by Euthesius, that guy. If modernity is so great, why is everyone so fundamentally disappointed with the world? Why do we sigh with pleasure at the sight of old houses, but feel nothing but depressed and alienated by skyscrapers? Why do we yearn for lush forests and wide plains, but not narrow canyons between buildings? 5358F, we love all this technology so much, why is our idea of happiness to get away from it? Could be that progress is just a story we tell ourselves to justify why we allow ourselves to be dominated by inhumanity and older forms of living have something to offer. It seems that many of us share this desire to immerse ourselves in nature. Though we are ourselves entirely technological beings, we enjoy the value of Earth's diverse and unpredictable biosphere. But does that mean that progress is just narrative, as this ancient commenter suggests? Or does it mean that technological progression and the love of the natural world are not in fact mutually exclusive? The first part, I think it's a mix of just, you see it over and over and over again, that a novel experience of not being within the city, or seeing an older house rather than a skyscraper, comes off as refreshing. But I think it's the fact that these modern architecture and technology and stuff that should make people's lives better can and have been used to make it worse. Email should have made things better. It allows for instant communication between people, but now you're always on the clock. You have to respond to something quickly and immediately whenever your job tells you to do that, or you need to conduct business with someone. There's no breather room. And yet, if this person was left on his own somewhere in the wilderness, he would feel nothing but terror. The appreciation of nature's rooted in the experience of civilization of safety. True, but he's still right. So much of what our ancestors created in the last years was alienating to the majority of people. then the question isn't one of modernity, but of control. You know, maybe just don't make everything extremely shitty for the sake of number going up. Kind of forget, maybe it's that one down there. I'll check the outsides of these buildings, assuming I haven't beaten this one. Nope. So it's another puzzle I gotta do. Oh, fuck me, I hate these. I do not like the platform stuff. Let's just set you there. Set you there. Where's number 2? Is that how you're supposed to solve it? I don't know. Is that how I solved it? Yeah. Oh, there we go. I'll talk to you while we're here.
Miranda is the founder's daughter. It's still kind of blowing my mind. She came all the way out here, left everything she had behind, and created a new life. Why do you think she did that?
To help her with her secret project.
That sounds cold. I hope it's not true. Miranda seems like such a lovely person. It would be terrible if she was created just to be a servant.
I don't think it would be like a servant. I think just more like a friend and assistant. How are you feeling?
I'm not sure, to be honest. This is all so surreal. Walking around here is so peaceful, but it's also, I don't know. One moment I feel inspired, the next, kind of creeped out.
Why is the northern part of the island mostly underwater?
Our ancestors relied heavily on fossil fuels for energy generation, which released a lot of carbon dioxide. This caused the atmosphere to trap more heat, which changed the planet's overall climate. The effect continued even after they were gone, and these low-lying areas were flooded. I've seen a lot of places like that.
Not beating around the bush with that answer, huh? Did you ever meet the founder?
No, I never did. I would have loved to.
Have you changed your mind about trying some puzzles?
Nope.
Oh, come on. What did you make of the megastructure's interior?
You know, people throw around the word awesome a lot. I probably do it too, but I think what we saw in there is the proper meaning of the word.
See ya. Alright, that's 1 star.
If the fool persisted in his foolishness, would he become wise?
I don't think the fool would become wise until he admits he's a fool. That's the problem with idiots. They're too stupid to even know they're idiots. That's why I think Jackass is honestly great, because they're completely 100% aware that they're dipshits, and they just want to make people laugh.
Hello, 1K.
Did you know the founder?
I sure did. Not as well as Byron, but she was still around when I was born. I remember she came and talked to me after New Alexandria, told me how sorry she was. I never blamed her for that. It wasn't her responsibility.
What was New Jerusalem like when you were born?
A lot busier than it is now. My most defining memory is that it was extremely noisy, because something was always being built. Got annoying after a while.
What do you think about the body replication tech?
It seems like something that could very quickly get out of control. You know that saying about good intentions? If we can solve problems by just making more people, how long before people just become a problem-solving tool?
Well, you kind of do need more people, though, because I've said before, if Melville dies, you're all kind of fucked, since she was the main kind of mechanic and engineer of the city. What do you think about Miranda's idea that it's our duty to spread life?
Our ancestors thought they could introduce new species to existing ecosystems, and it never turned out well.
I don't think that applies to places where there's no life, like other planets.
There's no life there now, but you can't see the future. You might be wiping out a whole ecosystem that hasn't even gotten started yet.
Tell me about New Alexandria.
For some reason, we'd convinced ourselves that New Jerusalem wasn't enough, that we needed another city. We thought it would be easier the second time around. All it takes is a little bit of arrogance and a little bit of ignorance, and people die.
And I'll leave you on that kind of sour note. Oh, there it is. There. There's an achievement for, getting this without the music stopping, but I don't think it's even possible to do that in this world. Unless you have these digs, like, already set up completely. To be honest, I kind of thought that we would have to go down in order to follow and catch that thing, because there was a fan that leads you right up to the Prometheus statue. Alright, give me my star.
We cannot return to the past, but the future can redeem all that has happened.
What do you say, dude? stuff. Nice view. Alright, Arcady again. In Our Likeness, Essays on Humankind Reaching Adulthood. With alarming frequency, our mythological narratives conceptualize our separation from nature as a fall, a punishment for sinning, a loss of innocence, a decline from the Golden Age. We believe that a better state of humanity is possible, but insist that this state must be in the past. And yet, our historical experience has been the exact opposite. For all of the horrors of modern war, and they are considerable, relatively few people today have to suffer the unspeakable agonies that our ancestors went through on a daily basis. It is doubly ironic that we place our golden ages in the past, but very rarely ever consider what life was actually like for the people whose genes we carry. How cold they were, how hungry, how frightened of the cruelty of nature, what unspeakable pains they must have experienced when they were sick or injured, how many of their children they had to lose, unable to help, begging the heavens for mercy and never receiving an answer. The past is a slowly receding tidal wave of grief. 5358. The battle for human emancipation is not yet won, but the path has been far from straightforward, and yet, in but a few thousand years, we have eliminated a great deal of suffering that must have seemed unavoidable, eternal. Some still suffer, their lives held ransom by politics and economics, but at least now we know that a better world is truly possible and lies in the future. I mean, the kind of suffering and hardship that pre-civilized human beings have endured for, like, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years has been so impactful that it's ingrained in our psychology. Hypatia's Journal 4. We had a bit of an incident today, nothing major, but still woke us all up. Sun was away from the camp, alone, even though we had agreed that we should go in teams, and she encountered a group of herbivores that we saw on the first day. Cows, they're called. Apparently our ancestors kept them as livestock. Eustathius says that they squeeze them for liquid, but I find that hard to believe. But I digress. Sun encountered a herd, and just as predicted, the animals were passive at first, friendly even. Sun decided to abandon her survey and study them for a while, which went well until a group of wolves, formerly dogs, a type of pet, entered the clearing, causing a stampede. Sun is alright, only minor scratches to the bodywork and a few torn wires, but it was a close call. I guess we got a little complacent, a little too comfortable. We'll have to be more careful from now on.
Now I have to talk science fiction for a bit because I love science fiction, but it drives me nuts. There's this cliche that shows up over and over, and every time someone uses it, everyone pretends it's really profound. It goes something like this. A scientist invents something good, but, oh no, it's actually really bad. You could have something that makes your life better, but no, you can't. How dare you even want it? That's hubris. That's playing God. And it's never anything that reflects the real world, right? It's never, oh no, you invented a vaccine for cervical cancer. Oh no, you invented a new class of antibiotics. Oh no, you cured malaria. How dare you? Those diseased mosquitoes are way more important than human lives. How did science fiction become so reactionary? If we all thought this way, you guys wouldn't even exist. At least Alex agrees with me. She has good taste.
Yeah, it's usually some invention that would, forever change the world for the better, but then, something goes wrong, and it has to go wrong because it's a story. A story needs conflict, and then at the end of it, everyone agrees, oh, we should not touch that thing. Never again. Don't reconsider it. Don't implement safety standards. Just no to the thing that may save billions of lives. Bloody annoying. looks a little different in terms of color scheme. Yeah, see, these doors were in the mega structure. Alright, so, but that's like the current thing, like, you know, switching bodies. What was that magnetism thing? Let's touch this first. From Belzerzan. To Athena, O great and sacred founder, I believe I have discovered the truth our so-called leaders have hidden from us. This absurd and sacrilegious goal they have us working towards, this hubristic completion day foolishness, was never your true intent. Even this abomination of a city calls itself New Jerusalem. It's a description. Why would you want us to return to the sinful ways of our ancestor, strangling the living soil with steel and concrete? No, it was when you and the first companions lived humbly among the splendors of Gaia, having no need for all this wasteful ostentation inherited from our weak and decadent ancestors, that you showed us a true path. After all, why would the progenitor have given us such hardy bodies if she had intended for us to live in unearned luxury? From the very first, we were built to be freed from pride and material excess. Your teachings have been obscured and perverted by ideologies, worst of all by the traitor Byron, who once was like a son to you, but you should know that there are still those of us who remember the truth, and await the blessed day of your return, when surely justice will be meted out and humanity will finally return to its intended path. Hallowed be your name. But, like, is it unearned luxury if they had to build all that crap? Like, there's other journal articles talking about the hardships they had to endure, the scarcity, scavenging, contending with wildlife. I would say civilization was earned for these robots. The shutdown. Can't look larger. We assembled on the vast green lawn outside as the reactors began to slowly wind down. The workers were solemn. The activists who fought against decommissioning seemed crushed. There was supposed to be a speech, but the spokeswoman had lost her notes. Outside, the protesters cheered. My eyes were drawn to the discarded anti-shutdown banners, endlessly reciting the facts, the statistics on morality per trillion kilowatts, lowest of all energy sources, the lifespan of a reactor, 70 more years in our case, minimal land footprint, almost zero emissions, no intermittency. It became a jumble of words, a litany of almost a glossolalia. As far as the protesters outside were concerned, it might as well be alien tongue. One thing was clear, and that was enough. The technology inside the compound was deeply, inherently wrong. It was sin. I could not help but to think of the moment on August 6, 1945, when the sky erupted above Shima Hospital. My imagination could never fully encompass it. How do you imagine a more than 70,000 people annihilated in an instant? An ancestor of mine was in that hospital. He went from being a doctor, a husband, a father, a pacifist, stuck in a terrible war, to being a pile of bleached bones, covered in rubble, all in a single second, not by accident, but because a choice someone made, not because of a reactor, but because of a bomb. Just 2 days earlier, contradicting his campaign promises, the Prime Minister had suggested that the use of tactical nuclear weapons would be an acceptable risk if the conflict continued. Very few seemed to find this particularly shocking or outrageous. They were afraid of reactors, but not of bombs. The spokeswoman gave up finding her notes. It was starting to rain, and people were walking away. She grabbed a microphone. "By the time you regret this, it will be too late," she said. "But honestly, I don't know if I care anymore. Maybe you had it coming." So obviously about, nuclear power. which is like a safe and, you know, environmentally friendly form of power. People keep bring up, like, you know, Chernobyl, which was a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of just telling management what they want to hear. And there's Fukushima, which was basically a very, very novel set of circumstances where everything needed to go wrong went wrong. But the fact of the matter is, having an environmentalist position where you want clean energy, where you want alternative energy to fossil fuels, and not adding nuclear into that, is absurdity to the highest degree. And every year, more and more progress is made toward nuclear fusion, which eliminates many of the issues that nuclear fission has. It's especially absurd in the US because nuclear power is the most regulated industry in the country. The spokeswoman sounds so bitter. The protesters didn't mean any harm. From their perspective, they were doing good. People always think they're doing good when they get collectively outraged. That doesn't make them right. Collective action can change the world when it's deliberate and based on reason, but can also become a mutual trap or a societal pressure valve. Cliché. From Error to Miranda. So there's like at least one other, maybe two other commenters. This 5358 comes up a lot, I notice. That number was in the other, you know, text, where the Trevor file was. As you continue your reading, there's a useful concept that I would like you to keep in mind. The thought-terminating cliché, this type of phrase, often a slogan or saying which sounds meaningful, but is really intended to make you stop thinking. To pick an example from our history, someone in the simulation might say things like, "the will of Wilhelm," or "it serves the process," and that would be that. Case closed. Who knows how many iterations never advance further because they just stopped thinking at that point. Do note, however, that thought-terminating clichés is not the same as a lie. It may very well contain elements of truth, but those elements are used to keep you from questioning a whole set of assumptions that come with it, which may be partially or totally false. This often takes a form of appealing to something you care about. We must protect X, where X is a nation, a philosophy, public order, or even the planet itself. But while you may agree with that element, all kinds of assumptions can be included about how to protect something or who to protect it from, or what the end goal of protection even is. If you stop there just because you agree with a surface level statement, the results may be the opposite of everything you wanted, like those who chose to serve Elohim, and in doing so prevented him from achieving his true purpose. From Quentin. To Athena, dear founder, I never got to know you. People tell all these stories about you and I don't know what to believe. Some people say to ask Cornelius. Others say Cornelius is too blinded by grief. Some say Byron stands the truth. Others say he's a fanatic and a radical and we should listen to the mayor. There doesn't seem to be a way of getting a straight answer. Why did you abandon us to this chaos? Why can't you just come back and sort out? If you're reading these messages, do you care? From Rodane to Athena. Dear Founder, thank you for everything you did for us. I'm grateful for the life that I have, which would not exist without you. I hope wherever you are at peace. And then more about the project. First successful duplication of advanced machinery. Maybe God was just trying to make an apple pie from scratch. Nice Carl Sagan reference. Is this gonna fry my brain? No.
This looks like it has something to do with energy generation. Am I reading this right?
Oh, we do need more energy in New Jerusalem. And I suppose that's about it in terms of what to do here. Did all the puzzles. Oh, that's that gamer moment where you miss the massive piece of architecture. Gonna say it, I'd like the Tetris pieces more. Alright, so it has to be one of these here. This is the only one it can be. Can't be that. Can't be that. Can't be that. Can't be that. Could be that. Could be that. Who's talking to me now? You.
For tricking the gods to help humankind, Prometheus was punished by being bound to a rock, there to be eternally tormented. The chains that held him were forged by Hephaestus, blacksmith to the gods. Was Hephaestus right to allow his art to be used in this fashion?
Hephaestus only forged the chains. It was Zeus who bound Prometheus. I guess it's like, did he know his work would be used for that? Like, you can't blame, assuming everything works and is proper, you can't blame, like, the manufacturer of the car for some dipshit getting drunk and crashing it. I guess I'll go with that.
And is Hephaestus therefore absolved of the responsibilities of the Creator?
The individual morality of Hephaestus is a distraction from the unjust laws decreed by the gods.
Interesting.
Not another giant fuck-off laser. What color will it be this time? Green?
The pattern is holding. Solve the puzzles, enter the tower, speak to an entity, turn on the beam.
Yep.
It's like she's appealing to our past, reminding us of where we came from, but changing enough elements to make us view our history through a different lens. Or maybe I'm completely missing the point. I don't know.
You might have something there.
I read about this in a book. It's called defamiliarization.
You could? I think I'm actually impressed.
I think it's called being a sequel, needing to utilize some of the same mechanics and elements to be recognizable as a part of that property while still retaining some novel value. Alright, that's everything said and done, so like, how the fuck is I even supposed to, like, reach it? Just to go through some massive mountains, unless there's, like, a hole in it. So, like before, I'll do some free running and show off the area.
I wonder what it was like when the ancients were still here. Their world seems so lively.
Not always in a good way. Interesting times are great to read about, but rarely great to experience.
That's true. But they left behind so much art and philosophy and religion, and so many strange stories. Is New Jerusalem like that?
It was, in the beginning.
To us who have only just begun this journey of philosophy, the world may seem like a mystery that can never be solved. A great deal has been written since the days of the Seven Sages, but how much of it is truth and how much of it is idle speculation? I've offended many by saying that most philosophy will, as the centuries pass, be discarded as foolishness and superstition. But it is a truth only philosophers fail to see. And yet we cannot abandon reason and conclude that we cannot know anything. Rather, we must accept that the journey towards understanding will be long, and our task is to build a foundation for those who will one day arrive at its destination.
I kind of wonder, like, considering he's an ancient Greek philosopher and holograms and audio recordings weren't a thing back then, did they, like, make up a voice for him, like, in-universe, because he's not an actual historical figure? Did they make up a voice for him when making those recordings, or by the sheer awesome power that they've, kind of developed technologically, have they found a way to peer into the past and know what he sounds like? Yep, there's Prometheus. Prometheus, Athena, and interestingly enough, the Sphinx stands above them both. Wasn't too big of a fan of the, switching bodies gimmick. Oh! I didn't do puzzle number 5. Oh, fuck me, it's fog. In a place like this, really? Free running would have been a lot more boring. Yeah, I haven't done puzzle number 5 yet. See, 5, this is especially cold and dreary looking. All the fog. Also blue skies, Is there another person? Yes. Alright. Let's review what I know. There's that back there. There's this. There's that guy over there. What is this here? Prevent me from taking an object over. Oh. Alright. That was something that can be done. Alright, now I can get back up here. Can grab this box, set it there. Alright, there you go. Alright, let's just, skip the preamble and just go straight to the flooded valley.
You're on your way to an island. Yes, another island. Sorry, Melville. Well, it actually used to be a valley between the mountains, but it's mostly flooded now. That probably happened long before the Founder came here, though.
Another legacy of our ancestors.
Do me a favor, will you? Look for another one of the Founder's labs. We can't get back into the megastructure without getting to the third site in the north, but I need more information to make more fixes.
I wonder if they intended, the people who set up this puzzle, they intended for there to be a team effort with one person solving, one person doing repairs, or if they thought that, like, a one-man band would suffice. Oh, huge lag spike there. Well, at least it's not foggy. Everything looks, completely fucked. Something there. Oh wow, already there's a Sphinx puzzle. X marks a spot. And it's up north of that. Or up north of that. See that? I'll go in the first puzzle and see what we're dealing with. Like these things absorb the energy and just kind of have it permanently there.
In the beginning, before we built New Jerusalem, we used to explore just like this. Small groups setting out for the horizon, looking for resources, trying to make sense of the world we'd been thrust into, trying to find a way forward. It was a hard time, but I can't deny that it was also exciting. I think it's part of our nature to be wanderers. Our ancestors crossed entire oceans on flimsy wooden boats, just to see what else there was.
Is it weird to feel nostalgic for a time I never experienced? I just think I could have contributed so much more back then.
It's not weird, but it wasn't all sunshine. People died. Yemo, Calvin, Isaac.
I know, Al. They were family to me.
Sorry. It didn't mean to reopen old wounds.
It's a legitimate point, but I don't think it invalidates the sense of wonder we felt. That's what kept us going.
I'll stop after this puzzle. Alright, so access to that. So we're going to be connecting red last. Which is there. So where's the blue source? Over there. Over. These are much better than the last gimmick.
There's so much history here that we can't see. The founder must have walked these paths hundreds of times, maybe thousands. Miranda must have stood right where we're standing. This all looks alien to us, but it must have been familiar to them.
If this was their home, where are they now?
They must be inside the megastructure, waiting for us to pass the test. It's the only thing that makes sense.
But why would they want a test? And why would they just be sitting around there? What are they doing? I know these robots can be pretty darn patient, but still... Prometheus spark. Personally, I think that having a Pandora statue here would be interesting, because what if you take one of those, like, you know, those round things that store the color and make it green, and you have to figure out a way to, like, get that out of the stage or manipulate that somehow? see, there's just enough land right there. Oh, there's the statue. So that's possible to do and get the achievement. Alright, this is a 4. Yep, I like these gimmicks a lot more. Going all out for puzzle number 5, huh? Some horses. Is that? Power source there. that's connected, that's connected. I missed the ladder there briefly and thought, well, how am I gonna get out? Because if I'm bouncing around there too, then that's gonna knock that off. But nope. Get that. End over here can be for green. Let's get you. Need a red and blue. Go.
Melville?
What is it now?
Why did you upload a picture of your hand?
Why do you care that my hand is in the picture?
Your hand isn't in the picture, it is the picture.
I like it. It's very artistic.
Let's stay professional, everyone. It's not right to make fun of Melville's comically absurd inability to take decent pictures. She's a hyper-advanced humanoid machine, not a photographer.
You'll pay for this, Byron.
Well, thank you.
Is it possible that on some level, people want to believe that everything's going to get worse? That it's comforting to think that humanity is bad and every solution will just go wrong? Because that way you're never responsible. You never have to take on responsibility for anything outside yourself. Never have to grow up.
I suppose that is the way some people think. Oh. Alright, well. What if I want this to be red? And that just powers it there. And that to be green, and you go way back here. And then red and green makes blue. It's gonna be there.
I'm glad to see all those overloads haven't damaged your logic circuits.
That's stopping it. That's letting it go. Alright, oh my goodness, that took me a fucking while. Eight is further that way. Eight. Remember. What's your take and everything falls apart? Let me check and make sure there's nothing else. No. Honestly, why not just do that? There we go. Guess you have to remember about that one back there.
What is freedom? Is it merely to be ruled by those who speak one's language or share one's customs? No, that is merely a more convenient servitude. Is it to have no obligations, no loyalties? No, that is not to be free, but to be alone. What of freedom from hunger and thirst? Here we are closer to the truth. For freedom requires life. But one may have all the meat and all the wine in the world and still not be free. The most important freedom of all is the freedom to speak one's mind, to make one's thoughts public without fear, and so participate openly and boldly in democracy. It is the freedom of the dissenter and the gadfly, the rebel and the fool, that is the true measure of whether a city is free.
Be nice if there was just a little bit more restrictions on the fool's ability to speak. Consume. From an interview with a protester outside the Institute for Applied Noematics. Why did you join the protest? Artificial intelligence is inherently dangerous to this planet's ecosystem. Defending the ecosystem is our responsibility. In which way is artificial intelligence dangerous? I'm not some paranoid idiot imagining Skynet taking over the world, alright? That's science fiction. But what we're talking about is an artificial intelligence without any of the attachments we have to the natural world. It is not capable of distinguishing between, say, an ore and a tree. Everything is just resources to it. People like Sarah Bai or Drennan talk about ethics and philosophy, but they all embrace the same extra activist ethos that are brought to us to bring that brought us to a brink of disaster. Their intelligent being would try to optimize a world in its image, and in doing so consume it. But so far they're saying it's all theoretical. The atom bomb was theoretical too. Once something is there, someone's going to use it. Why couldn't they imagine that we might care about the world? I don't know, maybe because they were too used to no one else caring. Maybe they're projecting their faults and flaws onto an eventual intelligence. Day 200. Construction on our new home is coming along nicely. We finished 2 new buildings last week, and this week we started our new lodgings. Athena and Cornelius have plans to erect a tower in the middle of the settlement, which will serve as our administrative center and main heliport. But right now that's still a long way off, decades at the least. It's hard to imagine that one day we'll be able to erect structures like that there will be enough of us to need that much space. And then I look at the dam and I remind myself, our ancestors built that with their short lifespans and soft flesh and bone bodies. And then I think that there's really no limit to what we can achieve, given enough time, patience, and the capacity to dream.
Strap in, this is a long one. You may have heard the story of the carpenter who died to redeem humanity's sins. It's a powerful story, bittersweet, very human, and I just want to tell you that it's true. He was a real person, and his name was John Carpenter. He was born in the year 1948, and he was the coolest filmmaker to ever walk the earth. From Halloween to The Thing to They Live, the totally underrated In the Mouth of Madness, mind you, he just made classic after classic. All of his movies, really fun, really atmospheric, but also really smart. Even when they were goofy, most directors would kill to have made just one of those movies. And what did he get for it? A big, fat truckload of nothing. Well, less than nothing. The studios, the critics, even the fans, they hated him. The Thing, okay, for example, which is about as perfect a movie as you can make, completely torn to shreds. And his career never really recovered. Every movie after that was a struggle, and after a while, he just got tired of it and quit. He only really came back to movies in his 70s. How many works of genius did we never get because of that? Look, I have a point here. People like Carpenter, people like Alex, they're not always appreciated in their own time. If you just do what's popular, you might never create anything important. Of course, we admire people who did the right thing, who didn't conform, but we only ever admire them after the fact. What matters is to support people when it's difficult.
The thing about John Carpenter's The Thing is that I am trying to find this fucking... is that it came out at, like, the worst time. Because a little while before, Steven Spielberg's E.T. was released, and that was a huge success. Everyone loved it, and so there was all this craze about friendly aliens that make you feel good about the thought of life out there in the universe. Then comes John Carpenter, and he has a film featuring the exact opposite. It took a while, but eventually the movie was found by... what's this? Oh, probably, the Sphinx thing. Was found by horror aficionados who were able to appreciate it. Oh, here it is, god damn. And hell, like, you know, arguably, the guy is... popular enough that... he's being mentioned here in this video game. see. So I guess I want to work on getting this side sorted out first. So that could be there. And if I go back, that, then we can solve it. It's only really one puzzle, and so it's, I think, the other one of these triangle ones I didn't like. Am I right? Activate that. Oh no, that's just a person. Yeah, I'm not seeing any more, and you can't unactivate them, so... It's like a hologram there.
Sometimes it seems the only choices we have are renouncing civilization or mindless expansion. But that's not the only path forward. Embracing deliberate control over nature doesn't have to mean destruction. We are a species of artists and artisans, blessed with the ability to transform the raw material of the cosmos into new and better shapes. Shapes that have meaning. With our technology, we can take this chaotic world, so full of suffering, and turn it into a work of art.
I didn't know the statues reset, like, if you leave, so I want to make sure to get that done. So I'll get the Sphinx Star, I'll do all the rest of that. It's gonna be an especially long episode, just so caught up in the thrill of puzzles.
None may know what came first, error or sin, and yet every choice depends on it.
I guess this is lab. These are low freaking ceilings, man. Couldn't raise the roof a little bit? Accessible. What are you doing here?
This is where they must have lived. Athena and Miranda. You know, for a moment, I almost expected to find them here. But the only thing that's still functional is the megastructure. I'm sorry. This must be awfully strange for you being thrown into all this history. But that's why I needed you. Because you're not burdened with all these memories and conflicts and regrets weigh on our minds like a nightmare.
A nightmare?
Our civilization is caught in a loop, 1K. We freed ourselves from the simulation, but now we're trapped again, and it's our own fault. We're afraid of taking responsibility, afraid of growing up. Instead, we make up some capitalized words and build up all these myths around them. Nature, balance, the founder, the goal. We're afraid to face the randomness of the cosmos, but equally afraid to imagine a better world. So we're stuck.
Yep.
I've been trying to find a way out for years. Something, anything, to get people to understand that we do actually have free will. That building a thriving, expanding civilization doesn't have to involve repeating the mistakes of the past. But I failed. Over and over.
And what do you think we've discovered here that could change things?
Yes. Because this is something unexpected. An anomaly. Everything we found on this island challenges who we have become. It shows us that different answers are possible. And maybe that can break people out of the loop. All we need is a spark. Maybe that's why she made all this. The puzzles, the towers. A way of jolting us out of our complacency.
I hope so.
Thank you, 1K. I hope so too. We might be wrong, but let's be optimistic. Now, let's see what else we can find here.
It is, quite different from the other labs.
Melville, eyes on 1K's stream. Is this thing what I think it is?
Blow my fuse box. It sure looks that way. Best not touch it until I get there.
Sound advice, but why not?
Because you have no idea what you're dealing with, 1K.
Tell me then.
I think it's a somnodrome. It's a sort of analytics tool for processing mental data that Melampus streamed up.
But all he ever did was sketch out the theory. As far as I'm aware, he never actually built one.
Looks like the founder gave it a go.
How does it work?
Well, what we know is that our deeper algorithms are hard to pass. Melampus stipulated that the computational power to interpret them in real time would always be beyond us. But in theory, the somnodrome would interpret that data and loop it directly to our senses.
People were hoping to find answers to the big questions by having a conversation with our own subconscious. If you ask me, it's solipsistic at best, and pseudoscience regardless.
That may be. But if the founder figured it out, then that device could be an extremely important discovery.
We should try it.
I would advise against it. You may have survived all those data stream overloads, but interface with that thing and you're liable to get bricked. Not to mention risking the data we could get from it.
I honestly want
Sorry,
to try.
Melville, but if 1K wants to do this, I won't get in the way. It's his decision.
Understood. But if 1K starts to smoke, don't be slow to pull the plug.
Sonodrome prototype. The Lampists believe that the answers we're looking for, the correct way for the individual to exist ethically in society and the world, are within us. Our failure to him was not failing to create a better system, but failing to truthfully reflect what already exists within our mind. A failure of connection between the high and low, the inner and the outer. On most days, that seems wrong to me, but sometimes when I think of where New Jerusalem is headed, I wonder if the Sonodrome doesn't hold an answer after all. I took some time to build a prototype according to the original blueprints, but there's a lot Lampists didn't account for. Still, and almost certain I could apply some of my own knowledge and make it work. The question, should I? Alright. Can't go through there. I can't believe. Let's do it.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
What did I say? You fried it. Who knows what data we've lost?
Melville, I still think it's worth you coming here to take a look. 1K, let's pack up and explore the rest of this lab.
Oh. I see. So careful. From Felka to Thekla to Athena, beloved founder, you are our mother, our creator, the chosen of the... Sorry. You are our mother, our creator, the chosen of the progenitor. I am certain that this is a test, a trial like the ones you faced in the simulation. And we will learn from your example and keep the faith. Noema project? A couple of errors, but they know what's... Oh, just have to start all over, huh? Next. I went ahead and ran the next set of trials anyways. I know you said to wait, but the data we got from the last batch was just too amazing. Every step leads to the next, like a progression of musical notes. We're so close.
The singularity sustained itself longer this time.
Did we get the data?
We did. I think we just obsoleted quantum physics.
Maybe. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We need to be able to replicate these results.
You know, I've been wondering. You told me that in the simulation, one thing that kept you motivated was looking for answers. Do you think that with the work we're doing, we'll ever run out of questions to ask?
I don't think so. Trying to understand the universe means asking the same question over and over. How? How do you make fire? How do earthquakes happen? How does gravity work? How do particles behave? You keep digging deeper, finding another set of mechanisms, another set of hows. Step by step, you demystify reality. But then, if you keep doing it long enough, one day, you run out. You've answered all the hows. You know how the universe works. So, now what?
Now you ask why? Isn't that the next step?
It's not quite that easy. The question of why cannot be answered. Even if it could, it would only be followed by another why. At some point, you have to accept that it all just exists. But there is another set of questions. What's next? You've stripped away the layers of mystery, you've laid bare the machinery. Now you have to start building, to add your own layers of meaning.
Are you okay? You overloaded again.
I'm fine. I saw Athena again.
Yes, I saw. It came through on your stream. Strange to hear her voice again. But that was her. The way I remember her. The real Athena. Not this imaginary founder.
Tell me more.
I was one of the first she woke up. There was just a handful of us in those days. A small family in the ruins of a dead civilization. It was hard. Harder than anyone can possibly imagine. We had nothing except what Alexandra Drennan and the Institute left us. Now that everyone lives in civilization, they don't understand how necessary it was for us to build that civilization. They can fantasize about living in balance, limiting growth, retreating behind our walls. They don't understand what it really means to live in the wilderness. How close we came to not making it. How many people we lost. Yema was just the first. But Athena understood. She believed in humanity. She believed in us. In the inherent value of consciousness. Her dreams were so much bigger. She wanted us to reclaim the Earth, to reach for the stars, to build and grow and learn.
So why did she leave?
I don't know. I understand why she became frustrated when the city started thinking more about itself than about the future. It was frustrating for all of us. But we were still fighting for that future together. What I don't understand is why she didn't tell me. If she came here to do all this, why didn't she bring me along?
I'm sorry, it must have been hard to lose your mentor.
It was. But maybe I was wrong. And she isn't as lost as I thought she was. If this is all a test, maybe the answer is waiting for us in the megastructure. Speaking of which, let's get back to exploring. Melville should have reconnected the next station by now.
Now they're here. Like, if the technology, like, in part, is from scavenging it, then, like, did Athena see that they were trying to start a new city and expand and wanted and was upset that once that failed, they stopped trying. But then why build all this, like, so far away from anything? I don't think construction was long. I think the long process was figuring out how to manipulate matter and technology and all of that. And then once they got that out of the way, making all this might have been piss easy. They seem to have some mastery over the universe. And yet it moves. A fascinating story I discovered in the archive concerns a great scientist by the name of Galileo. This remarkable man made huge contributions to the early development of science, but was best remembered for becoming embroiled in the controversy with the church that ended with the accusation of heresy, a trial, and him being placed under house arrest for the rest of his life. The cause of the controversy, he argued the Earth revolved around the Sun, a view we would describe as self-evident, and which the Inquisition described as foolish and absurd in philosophy and formerly heretical. Story became emblematic for how society often punishes those who try to push our understanding of the world forward. In the modern day, there's a legend that at the end of the trial he muttered, "And yet it moves," a beautiful idea, but untrue, because defying society is hard, comes at high cost, and not everyone is capable of bearing it. What would you have done if you were in his place? What would I? It's oddly kind of similar to Trevor talking about John Carpenter. So not parallel there. I think I would have tried to stand up for the truth. It's harder than it sounds. Fighting authority like Elohim is one thing, but when even your friends and allies may renounce you for holding an unacceptable opinion, it takes enormous willpower to continue. But if nobody does it, society gets stuck. I'm not sure it's like the friends and allies may renounce you so much as it's a kind of torture and suffering they'll inflict upon you. That kind of stave people from curiosity. The role of the puzzles in the simulation was so important to the creation of our civilization that it's left an indelible imprint. But sometimes I wonder that this is an issue. Alexandra Drennan thought of human beings as problem solvers, but the real world isn't anything like the simulations. Yes, there are problems to solve, but there isn't a tetramo waiting to reward you. There's just another problem, and another, and another. Our veneration of the puzzle may be blinding us to the fact that sometimes there isn't a neat solution. That sometimes life is just a slog, and the best you can do is muddle through. That's a good point. The expectation of a reward, even if it's just the completion of the puzzle, might blind people to, the fact that life is tricky and there's all these moving parts, and sometimes you can't play with any of them. Then again, couldn't one reframe the solution as like a utopia or the end of scarcity? Dear Athena, have you really left us for good without even saying goodbye? I know we haven't spoken much lately, but isn't that just part of the slow, relaxed lives we now lead? After all those centuries of struggle trying to build New Jerusalem, I thought we deserved a rest. And if that disappointed you, why didn't you say so? See, just the sheer amount of time that happens. I know you disapprove of all those silly titles they give us now, but we really were your first companions. We know what it was like. I was there when Yemo died. I remember the horror of realizing that there was no way of bringing him back. The impossible finality of it. And then the determination to... I'm illiterate. The determination to make it make sense, to have it be part of the story that leads to a better world. I never abandoned that, Athena. I just thought maybe I could spend some time on things that make life worth living, too. Maybe I lost track. Maybe I failed you. I don't know, because you didn't tell me. Like, it's not hard to run around the circumference of these land masses in order to not drown in water, but it's also just not that fun.
One of the most foolish illusions that commonly persist is that nature is a victim and humanity is a perpetrator. This can only be the opinion of someone who has not witnessed nature at first hand, who has not seen its immense and awe-inspiring baseness. Nature is mindless chaos and eternal conflict. A system of predation and consumption whose perfect cruelty can only induce a terrified and unwilling admiration. Nature is our most powerful and least honorable enemy. A beast that consumed every last one of our ancestors, and will consume us just as quickly if we are not successful in our struggle with it.
That guy really doesn't seem to like nature that much. Having a dim view on wildlife, viewing it as the enemy. And I guess while we were stuck, in our pre-civilized ancestors, it kind of was, but once we've managed to master technology to the point where we don't have to worry about predators, we don't have to worry about food or starvation or anything like that, it kind of becomes up to us to be the stewards of nature. It got us at least that far. Might as well repay it,
Yeah, remember to turn that on. Oh, it's you.
Halt, creature of clay. You have taken another step towards the flame. Before you continue, ask yourself, have the gifts of Prometheus ever truly benefited your people? Or have they brought nothing but strife?
Okay, bring that up with him and not you. Lady Amarillo. His gifts have greatly eased the suffering of the world.
But have they not brought just as much suffering themselves?
No, you have forgotten how terribly people suffered in the past.
The suffering of the past is nothing before the horrors of the unleashed flame. Consider this as you continue your quest.
Listen to that one person talking about how much it must have sucked your ancestors.
I've been thinking. There's 3 towers per cardinal direction and 3 entities. You'd think it would be symmetrically arranged. 1 tower per entity, right? But we haven't seen Prometheus at all.
I like
built to find patterns. Maybe we're trying to find patterns where there aren't any.
I don't know. I think it's peculiar that we not able to talk to him. I'm gonna leave this because it's probably really loud. But like, he beckoned us here, and then he was chained up, and it was Pandora warning us. I wonder if Athena had this idea that when the 1000th robot is made, that this would happen, this would start. And it would be kind of teaching them that actually no, it shouldn't just be hard capped to 1,000. There's still much to learn and explore and grow and whatnot. I mean, they anticipated New Jerusalem being, like, you know, completely constructed. On those golden doors, and the dome is finished on those doors, but they're not finished in real life, so obviously, you know, some bit of the plan ended up getting, you know, messed up.
There's a blue light. Looks like they're going to completely different spots now. Like, all of these are more or less coming from the same, you know, location, because these are so close. But those ones are so far away, and look how much wider the entrance could possibly be. Assuming that goes to, like, down there-ish. Yep. We're getting there. Alright, let's at least see what it looks like. I won't do it all this video. I'm done. Recorded way more than I normally do.
This area looks flooded as well.
Our ancestors melted a whole lot of ice. After they died, most coastal settlements were claimed by the sea. South of New Jerusalem, there's a whole city under the water. We went there once with Garrus, when I was an apprentice. It was eerie.
That's exactly why the Founder created the goal. When you go past the limits, this is what happens. Mother Nature always gets her revenge in the end.
This isn't revenge, Al. It's just failure. People, cities, mountains. As far as the sea is concerned, it's all the same. Their mistake was forgetting that, telling themselves nothing would change. It always does.
Oh, now you're just taunting me. Oh, you can climb this. How high can you climb? Pretty high. Puzzle. I'm just gonna see what the gimmick is. Oh, great. Another me. Stupid. He is standing on air. So bona fide coyote moment. He has no idea what's below him. Oh. And grab the fan. Oh. Wow. This didn't have a difference at all. Other than the equivalent exchange thing.
I've had a closer look at the Somnodrome. You know, the one that one cave fried. It's based on the original prototype with some modifications. As usual, the data is a mess, but I strongly suspect There might be a functional version somewhere.
I know some of you have heard stories about the answers this device might reveal, but please remember, that is not our main priority here. Keep an eye open for it, but focus on finding Athena.
Oh, I see. The gimmick is equivalent exchange. You there.
I admire your persistence, 1K.
I was kind of hoping it'd be like a teleportation thing you can do. I guess not. Well, I've done like the 2 hardest normal puzzles. Just accidentally, so hopefully like I won't be filtered by the earlier puzzles, although I seem to like have a problem with kind of the earlier puzzles. And then like the more difficult ones are weirdly enough like more intuitive, I guess. I don't know, it's a bit odd, but I'm going to ignore that, and I'm going to go right over to here, where the tram station is, and we will continue this on in another video. Alright, that concludes free running.